I remember just hearing that there was an incident where a man was killed with a knee on the neck, and then, of course, I turned on the news, and of course, it was playing everywhere. I couldn't watch the full video, but as I began to process the story, just the weightiness of it, it hit me really hard because of my understanding of history. And there are events that take place that really are what I call harbinger events, which basically means that there's a deeper story and a reality behind what is actually physically happening. And they really are messenger events that really are predicting that change is about to take place. Two others that I can think of right off the top of my head was the Crispus Attucks experience, where he was killed at the Boston port that eventually led to the American Revolution, and then the Emmett Till death in 1955. Both of those were harbinger events. And I just really felt in my heart that the George Floyd event, there was something of great depth to that. And then on top of that, shortly thereafter, of course, we had the protests, the worldwide protests. And then shortly thereafter, you basically had all of the American industry that began to think of ways that they could really be more inclusive, and came up with DEI strategies just almost immediately. And you ask yourself, why would that happen that way? Why is it that everybody is responding in this type of way? And it's because it really was an event that is going to have ripple effects even through the rest of this decade. In the book, in chapter 4, I talk about the event about 3 weeks after the George Floyd incident in June, when we were at my father's house for Father's Day. It was the Saturday before Father's Day. And we were just sitting down. I think everybody was just in shock still. Not just over the George Floyd incident, but the fallout all around the world, all of the discussions that were being had that were not had prior to that about police enforcing in minority communities. And it was just, the whole world was on fire with the understanding that something had really been uncapped in America through this one event. And, we were just kind of sitting there, and we were just talking. And it was a very reverent kind of family moment. The news was on in the background, and people just started sharing their hearts. And my sister actually did make the comment. We were talking about the duplicity in American society where black men are concerned. And I think I had talked about some of my experiences growing up. And she just said, my sister that is, that, I don't really think that or really black women really understand the depth of what black men go through in this nation. And it was just, it was a word in season, a word that, just really helped us understand, or just kind of crystallize the idea that in American society, it's different if you are an African American or black male. And of course, we all know that, we understand that, but her words that day just really kind of help galvanize that moment, that there is a difference and there's something here that really needs to be done about it. To realize that in life there are things that happen that are tragic, but then the complexity of a tragic event is when something happens and there's great suffering. I think it's a lot easier for a family member to be informed that, hey, your loved one was in a plane crash or a car incident that was, something that was just really acute and it was quick and final. But that wasn't the case with the George Floyd incident. And to know that there was that level of pain and suffering for a very protracted period of time, and it was something that was played out on the world stage. There's a lot of therapy I'm sure the family members will have to go through. And just the weight of that, and just the realization that, wow, we live in a nation where this kind of event, as traumatic as it is, that it really is speaking of a deeper reality that we as a nation will have to deal with, and because of all of the tragedies that the system has created as it pertains to Black people. And so I was just really overwhelmed with their pain and the realization that they will have to live with that for the rest of their lives. So one of the things that really, really hit me was the reality that as a Black man, I've lived a pretty phenomenal life from the standpoint of being socially accepted. And that started when I was young and I was a high performer in school. Obviously, that will open some doors for you. And I have always had really good friends in the white community and wonderful relationships. I talk in the book about the fact that for a long time in my life, I lived in predominantly white communities, not for that reason. It just happened to have fit with where I was, at that time in my life, the friends that I had, the places where I was working or going to school, and it just, it was just part of that experience. And I talk about the fact that even though I have been pulled over several times, I've only gotten a ticket twice, and no officer has ever been rude, crude, or disrespectful to me. Now, let me also say that, if I get pulled over by an officer of a law, that I'm going to be extraordinarily respectful to that person, because I think if part of that is just the way that I was raised. And I think that, it's important to always be respectful. So I'm sure that had a lot to do with it. But I also think the rest of it is just God's grace. And so I realize that I have been very, very blessed to be in the place where I am. And yet, at the same time where this situation took place, I also realized that there were a lot of things about the system and the inner working of the system that I was pretty much detached from. Even though I did have a good understanding of history, even at that particular moment, most of the people that I was friends with and the world that I lived in was really devoid of the reality of what was going on in American society. So this was my wake-up moment. And I actually began to read out. I began to do a lot of research. And it was a moment where I began to ask some deeper questions about the racial issues that were affecting Black people in the nation that I wasn't prepared for before the George Floyd incident. I prayed some prayers. Like one of the prayers was, why is it that historically for 400 years, Black people have had the experience that they've had in this nation? And that's a very deep question. The thing is that some of the answers to that question began to surface in the research work that I was doing. I mean, the fact of the matter is that if you just at a 50,000 foot level, if you looked at it or took an objective look of history, you would see that the difficulties of Black people in American society, from chattel slavery through Jim Crow, through institutional racism, that it has been a path that is really almost unparalleled by anything of any other people group in human history in the last 400 years. We have had the most unique experience, particularly, when you consider a transatlantic slave trade all the way. If you add that 100-year period back in, it's like, why have all of these things happened to Black people? And that really was the initial question. And as I began to ask questions like that, then answers began to slowly but surely come. There's a Bible verse that says in Proverbs, the 25th chapter, it says that it's the glory of God to conceal a matter and the glory of kings to search it out. And it really became evident that I was on a journey of searching things out that I didn't necessarily, just intellectually sign up for. And so that's how that happened. One of the things that I really began to understand through my journey in life is that if you are a person that really, really wants to do well in life and you want to be successful, then as you continue to go down the road of life, there are going to be certain things that are going to be presented to you. And at a certain point, you come to a place of understanding that success has a price. And the thing of it is that many times people, whether it's a conscious effort or whether it's because of circumstances, people pretty much dial in where they want to be on that scale in terms of the price that they're willing to pay to get where they want to be. And it's interesting that everybody has a price. There's something in everybody's life that they're willing to roll out the red carpet for. Everybody has something that they're willing to do it. It could be, something that they really enjoy. For some guys, I know there's some guys gaming. I mean, they'll spend thousands of dollars on games because they're really involved in that. For some, it's golf. Some, it may be an expensive sports car. For some, it might be their educational, their career pursuit. But the bottom line is that there is something that everyone is willing to pay a price for. But the question is that thing that they're willing to pay a price for going to benefit them only, or is it something that is really going to benefit the people that are around them? Is it something that's going to be in alignment with their life purpose, or is it just going to be something that's going to be something of enjoyment for themselves? And that is the question that we have to answer as it pertains to Black America, as it pertains to the realities in American society. There is a lot of discussion, and there has been long before George Floyd and even now, about the inequities in American society. And yet the reality of it is that most people, they know that, but there's not necessarily a commitment to do their part. And that contributes to the hole that we see today in American society. I have studied history for a long time. And of course, as a Christian man, I've studied my Bible. I think it'd be irresponsible for me not to do that, along with other history books. And there's one story that really, to me, most of the stories in the Bible are not really religious stories. They're stories about people that had experiences, and they were simply called by God to do something. And you see the human part of it as well in the context of the story. And as it pertains to this book, Black Man, A Prophecy of Hope for the Times Ahead, as it pertains to the issues that we are confronted with in this nation, there's a story about a person that most of us know about, a man by the name of David, who became the king of ancient Israel. And when he was a young man, he actually was shepherding sheep, and his father had him go out and give some provisions to his brothers who were at a battle. And he goes to do that, and the figure called Goliath was out there taunting the armies of Israel, and yet the Israelite soldiers were afraid to fight Goliath. And so David begins to ask, hey, what would I get if I killed this Philistine? And guys were already talking about the fact that, hey, anybody that's willing to go out and fight this giant, the king is going to let him have a daughter, and his house is going to be free of taxes. And David's older brother comes to him and says, hey, what are you doing? You shouldn't even be here. And David says to his brother, he says, is there not a cause? And I think that's a very apropos question that we really have to ask as it pertains to issues of conscience. Is there not a cause? Is there not a cause for me to really make a commitment to do something that really is going to make things so much better? And we see that where Vernon Johns is concerned, that here's a man that in a day, in a time period where Black men would easily be killed for having or expressing any kind of revolutionary or anti-societal kind of thoughts, he is preaching and telling this congregation of people, listen, you should not be satisfied with just getting a good education and settling down and living side by side in a system that totally and completely devalues and takes advantage of you. You are Americans, and you should be moving the hands of justice forward by standing up for your rights and taking what this Constitution says is yours. And he did that until basically he laid a foundation for a dimension of change that would eventually come to that community. And it's really the same thing today in so many different regards, because I know a lot of people that are extraordinarily eloquent about the issues that we are facing. They are experts on what is wrong. But I don't know a lot of people that are really, really committed to giving their lives away to do something that will create a better legacy for others. I don't know that many people. And the reality of it is that because of what we have walked through as Black people, because we know things about the impact of what's happening in this society that many good white people, there are many, many good white people that simply do not know or understand because they don't have the relationships with Black people. They don't see things from our perspective because they don't have the history. They just don't know. And many times when they are made aware, then there is a point of sympathy, and some are even willing to cast their lots in with us to help us as a people. But what I'm saying here is this, is that we are a people that in many regards, we know a whole lot more than we are committed to be invested in where change is concerned. And that is an issue. It is an issue that has affected us for the last 50 or 60 years. The reason things are the way they are with regard to disadvantages for minorities is because we have not had enough courageous people to stand up and do their part so that they can make a difference. I think chapter 4 is certainly a good chapter because chapter 4 talks about really the battle of the soul and that place of just really becoming naked with your own self and asking, why do I live the way that I live? What is the impact of what I am doing? Am I doing something that's only designed to benefit me, or do I care enough to be willing to do something that's going to benefit my children, that's going to benefit society? That really is the question. I believe that inside of every person, and I'm not speaking to just Black people here, I'm speaking to all people in American society. I believe that wherever there are great issues that you are being confronted with in American society, be it in the family, be it on the job, be it in other places, whatever your challenges are, wherever your challenges are, there is a great opportunity for you right there. There's a tremendous opportunity for you to recognize that your life has great value, that your gifting, your intellect, your abilities, which are unique to you and no other person possesses them, that really is a gold mine of opportunity for you not only to be fulfilled and have a more colorful life because of your commitment to step into the place to make a difference, but the impact that you can have on the life of other people, particularly your children, particularly your family. That's the sterling opportunity. And we need to be asking ourselves, why am I hesitating to embrace that? Remaining the same in a society where we know that there are a lot of things that are wrong and everybody's on the take, that really should not be an option for any of us, because our society will pay an extraordinary price if that is the way the people in the society think. What needs to happen is every person needs to recognize the hour in which we're living, and all of us need to be motivated to do our part. And sacrifice is a big part of it. The reality of it is my life is not just about me. My life affects my children. My life affects my wife. My life affects the organizations that have put me in a place of responsibility. And the legacy that I want to see on the back end is that I made the contribution to the moral arc of the universe, which is long but bends towards justice. I hope that you will take this book, Black Man, A Prophecy of Hope for the Times Ahead, and just listen to the voice of your conscience, because your conscience is leading you to have impact, an impact far greater than anything you could possibly imagine, but you have to make the commitment to move into the new. And you may contact me at gregdavis.com. You may purchase the book at any place, basically, Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble. You can purchase it at bookshop.org or readerhouse.com. And I would like for you to read it and write me at info@gregldavis.com. And thank you for subscribing to my YouTube channel.